Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Code Cycle. In today's tutorial, we are going to discuss about something called palindrome. Palindrome is any number or can be any string which, when reversed, is equal to what we reversed earlier. For example, I have a number 505. When I reverse this number, it will still be same. It will still be 505. Okay. Now this time I have a number 5005. So when I reverse it, when I'm reversing, what I'm doing here is that I place the last figure, the top position or the first position, and the second last one at the second position. Up to so on, I move the whole string in a reverse order. That I have 5005. When I reverse it, I got 5005. And in case of strings, let's just say that I have a word madam. When I reverse this, it will still be same madam. So we are going to create a code in which it will check that whether the integer or the string is palindrome or not. And in this code, we will implement all the other things that we have learned earlier, like we will use the definitions, or by definitions I mean functions. We will use, if we have to use loops, we will, and definitely we will use the if-else statements, and we will take input from the user and so many operations. So here I'm going to create two functions. The first function is responsible for checking that if the string is palindrome or not, and the second function here is responsible for checking that an integer value is palindrome or not. Well, basically the function for checking palindrome for strings can also be used for checking that the value of integer value is palindrome or not. The thing is that it only works when you take input from the user. When you define value of your own, let's just say I type variable 1 is equal to 101. I know it is a palindrome, but when I pass this value into the string function, it will create an error because this here is a numeric value. And when you take input from the user, simply just I type variable 1 input, enter number, the input will be taken as a string, and even if I type 1001, it will still be a string. Why? Because of this. When you put input 1001, it will be something like this. It will be inside the parentheses, so inside the inverted comma. So it is the compiler here is considering this value that you have entered as a string, so it will perform operations on it. So for numeric values, like if I entered a numeric value of my own, an integer value of my own, so for that I have to create a new or a different function. So let's define the function for checking palindrome for strings. I'm going to type s palindrome. So this is the name of the function which will be used to check that the string is palindrome or not. So inside it I'm passing a variable. Let's just say my variable name is variable 1, which contains the string, and after that we need to place a colon. Then nextly I'm going to create another variable called temp or temporary variable, which I will let equal to variable 1. Actually I'm just creating a duplicate of variable 1 or the string which I have passed in, because later I will use this temporary function, so a temporary variable for comparison in the if-else statements. So nextly what I'm going to do here, that I'm going to say that variable 1 is equal to bar brackets colon -1. Now what does this mean here? For that to understand, let me give you an example. This thing right here that I am typing here, variable 1, and I type 1 colon 2. I'm actually giving the steps that if you consider your input like something like this, that you have a value inside variable 1 equals to cache n, and if you consider it like a list or like an array, that you will know that this k here is actually at index 0, right? Wait a second, let me just place the 0 here. Is at 0, and this 1 here is actually at index 1. So this a here is actually at index 1, and this s is actually at an index 2, and this 3. So this h is at index 3. So up to so on. This will be like something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because my name contains 6 letters, so it will have 6 indexes starting from 0 to 5. So when I type variable 1 bar brackets 3, and then I print this whole statement, I type print variable 1 3. Now this means that print the variable 1, the value of variable 1 at index 3. So at index 3 I've got h. Right now at index 3 the value is the character present is h. So it will simply print h. Now when I type variable 1 print variable 1 bar bracket 5, now it will print something like n. Yes, it will print the character n because it is at the fifth and last index of variable 1. So now when I type variable 1 variable 1 parenthesis bar brackets 1 colon 2, it is I'm actually giving the start and ending of my steps, that you start from index 1 and end on index 2. When I print this statement, when I print this, it will print me something like AS, because at index 1 A is present and at index 2 S is present. Now when I type 0 5, this means that it will simply print my whole name, because it will start from index 0 and go to index 5. So as I told you that it is actually we will use the steps, so I can even give the change or I can even change the increment in every step. Let's just say that I type colon 2. Now the third colon, and the value of the third colon is actually giving us the increment. Now when I print this, it will simply print K S A, because it will start from 0 index, then it will increment 2. So 0 plus 2 is equal to 3. Thus at index 3 I have got H. I have got H, and then it will increment 2 again. So at index 5 I have N, so it will print KHN. And when I type something like -1, it will actually type the steps will be reversed, and it will start from the index 5 to index 0. So it will just reverse the value and print NAHSAK. So hope so you guys understand. Now let's get back to the topic. Now I have in this line, now you know that in this line I have just reversed the value in variable 1, and then store it again inside the variable 1. Now nextly I'm going to create a condition that if temp, now remember I have created a duplicate called temporary. The original value is stored inside temp, right? If temp is equal to variable 1, which I have just reversed, then just return true. And else, return, the spelling of return is false. Return true. And nextly, if return false. Now, this is the function for our palindrome, for checking palindrome of a string. Now, I'm going to take input inside my variable 1 is equal to input. Then I'm going to say that enter a string. Dude, why it is not responding? So okay, the problem is solved. Now I move next. Now nextly I'm going to use a condition here that if, now in my if condition I'm going to call my function here. My function's name is as palindrome is. Now I'm going to pass my variable which contains a string. Variable 1 is equal to true. Then, I forgot to place a column there. Then print is palindrome. Palindrome. Or else it will just simply print not palindrome. Now this was the function and the code for checking that string is palindrome or not. Now for the numeric or integer value, I'm going to create another function. I'm going to define another function, and this time I'm going to name my function here is n palindrome. Now inside this function I'm going to use some mathematics to help so you guys understand it. So I'm going to pass the same variable 1 here, and I will call this function only if we use or enter a numeric value. So in this case I'm going to say that temp is equal to variable 1 modulus 10, that it will take find the remainder by dividing it by 10. Now nextly it is going to do here something like total is equal to temp multiplied by 10, and I'm going to place this inside some parentheses here, plus just temp 2. Temp no, I messed that all again. That it will multiply total with 10 and then increment 10 or add 10. Nextly I'm going to just variable 1 is divide is equal to, which will simply means that is equal to variable 1 divided by 10. Then after this and I will here I'm going to run this chunk of code until that while